Randy, it's not the first symptom we might think about, but how might MS affect a person's sex life?
Well, MS is a disease of the nervous system, Ardra, and that involves the sexual activity of the system as well. So it is a primary cause of sexual dysfunction for people with multiple sclerosis. When we look at sexual dysfunction in multiple sclerosis, we talk about primary sexual dysfunction, secondary sexual dysfunction, and tertiary sexual dysfunction. Sex act starts in the brain with the idea of wanting to have sex and goes down the central nervous system. Demyelination along those central tracts leads to primary sexual dysfunction, and that can occur in multiple sclerosis. But then we have issues with other things in multiple sclerosis as well. For example, medications that you might take for various and sundry things, whether it's for depression or whether it's for your bladder or whether it's for whatever, but spasticity, whatever it might have to be, can affect sexual function as well. So we talk about secondary sexual dysfunction as well. And then we have to talk about the psychological and personal and vocational issues that also affect one's sexuality and how one expresses their sexual capabilities. So we have all of those things going on in multiple sclerosis, and we have to deal with each and every one of them.
It's a lot to unpack. I always say, like, sex starts in the brain, and that's the problem when you have an illness that affects the brain. I first learned that MS might impact my sex life when I read about sexual dysfunction on a pamphlet. There was no further explanation, and no doctor ever talked to me about what might happen. Who can patients talk to if they're worried about how MS is impacting their sex lives?
Well, you've really hit on an issue, and that's communication. It's really important to be able to communicate about everything. But when we're talking about sex, there are people that feel very uncomfortable talking about it. So normally when you're seen these days in a multiple sclerosis appointment, what do you talk about? You talk about the immune system a lot because that's what the doctor is very comfortable talking about. You talk about your MRIs because they're very comfortable talking about that. But when it comes to sexual function, most physicians and even nurse practitioners begin to clam up and feel very uncomfortable talking about it. It should be on the list of things that we as physicians and providers ask routinely.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and I think we can only destigmatize it by having a frank discussion about it.
Absolutely. I have found in my practice that a lot of the women don't like to talk to a man about their sexual dysfunction unless they feel that person has some knowledge and can talk to them without any feelings of being judged or graded in some way, shape, or form. And men, I suspect, don't want to talk to women in the same way, but we have to get through that because life is not that way anymore. We have to deal with things the way they come. There are sexual counselors available for people to talk to who specialize in this. There are people with MS who have experience, who are willing to share their experiences in some way, shape, or form.
I want patients to know that what they're up against isn't their fault. It's common for supportive partners, the good ones, to feel like they wish there was something they could do to ease the burden of MS. How can we talk to our partners about the way MS affects our sex lives, and what are some ways partners can support people with MS?
The communication strategies obviously may be different from person to person, but the operative word is communication. And so one has to talk about not only the sexual act, but how you feel about it. And the fact that this is all not just penis, vagina action, so to speak. It may be touching, it may be body mapping, feeling what feels good on one about. It may be simply caressing and cuddling. All of that involves sexuality and may be different from person to person, but you need to communicate it. And I don't care whether you have MS or not. That's true of couples in general.
I think what you're saying is that relationships where a partner has MS require work and communication, just like any relationship does.
MS can cause sexual dysfunction in several ways. Physical symptoms, symptoms connected to medications, and even psychological symptoms of MS can all have an impact. Sexual function can sometimes be difficult to talk about, but don't let this hold you back from discussing the topic with your MS team. Changes to your sex life due to MS are not your fault, and there are many ways to tackle sexual problems.
I hope you found that video useful. You can find more MS content on our channel or click the link to watch the next MS video.